Hello everyone and welcome back to another installment from our series Straight from the Horse's Mouth. Cradle to Cradle is one of the world's most advanced certifications for products that have a positive impact on people and the planet. It is based on a design approach that brings together safe materials, product circularity, clean air and climate protection, water and soil stewardship, and social fairness. Here's a sneak preview.
Now, Dr. Michael Braungart said that we should move from doing less harm to doing more good. Being less bad is simply not good enough. And likewise, Cradle to Cradle is not a one-off certification for a product, but a commitment to continuous innovation to move towards doing good.
We're very proud to be the first manufacturer in the Southern Hemisphere to achieve this and be at the forefront of circular economy principles.
Having true partners come on the journey with us and with the extensive requirements of Cradle to Cradle and the certification, we and our partners were forced to gain a truly deep understanding of what materials are in our components and what the byproducts of these components are. A key lesson that we took from this process was that circularity in design needs to be included right at the start of the product development stage. It needs to be a core part of the design process.
Eagle Lighting's Aduco Vitality recently became the first luminaire in the Southern Hemisphere to gain the certification. Nicole Sullivan, our Head of Strategy and Impact Australia, talks to Eagle Lighting's Engineering Manager, Mark Antonello, and Lighting Solutions Manager, Ian Johnson, about the process, what they learned, and how the company is benefiting from the certificate. With that, let's get started.
Hello and a very warm welcome back to our webinar series, Straight from the Horse's Mouth, Insights from Experts in 30 Minutes. My name's Nicole Sullivan. I'm Head of Strategy and Impact Australia for thinkstep-anz. Today, we're focusing on Cradle to Cradle certification and Eagle Lighting's sustainability story. It's great to have such a great audience today, and some of you might not know us. So just briefly, at thinkstep-anz, we're passionate about helping organisations to succeed sustainably, and we help with detailed studies like materiality assessment and also carbon footprinting, life cycle assessment, or more strategic sustainability projects. We've been doing this for around 15 years in Australia and New Zealand. More recently, we've been helping companies with Cradle to Cradle certification, and today is about sharing Eagle Lighting's work. I'd like to welcome my fellow presenters today. We have Mark Antonello, Engineering Manager at Eagle Lighting. Mark has spent over 13 years working in the lighting industry, primarily focusing on developing energy-efficient products for the ever-changing landscape. In that time, Eagle Lighting has seen their product offering shift from fluorescent to 100% LED based, bringing with it an opportunity to revolutionise what is accepted as standard. Mark now leads a team of engineers focused on developing the most sustainable solutions that are designed, tested and manufactured in Australia. With him is Ian Johnson, Lighting Solutions Manager at Eagle Lighting. Ian's career in the lighting industry spans close to 40 years, collaborating with architects, engineers, interior designers, specialist lighting designers, government agencies and education institutions. In addition to his commercial lighting business application roles, he commenced teaching at RMIT University in Melbourne in 1996. That's not very long ago, Ian, that's okay. Ian regularly contributes as a media commentator and subject matter expert on energy efficiency, sustainability and lighting education syllabus development to various organisations, peak industry bodies and government agencies. Since joining Eagle Lighting in early 2018, he has focused his professional development interests towards the biological impact of light, the emotional aspects of light, and the emerging science of the influence that light has on human well-being. Wow, I'd like to learn some more about that. So with that, let's jump in and just do a quick introduction to Cradle certification, just so we're all on the same page. You may be familiar with this diagram from the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. It depicts the circular economy in its two cycles, the biological cycle in green and the technical or non-biological cycle in blue. In green, you would find renewables such as natural wood products, and where they grow and then are used in an application. At the end of their use, They can be cascaded into future uses, or they can re-enter the carbon cycle to be renewed rather than lost. In the blue cycle, we have what we would normally view as non-renewable or manufactured products, most of what we use. Steel and concrete, lights and carpet, computers and pens, all belong here. To be circular, these products must be returned at the end of use. Notice I'm not saying end of life, end of use, and returned to the economy rather than being lost as waste. This diagram represents the desired and necessary state of keeping technical materials in circulation and our biological systems in a state of regeneration. In the fine print at the bottom of the slide, down the bottom left, you'll see that there is a reference that's based on the work of Braungart and McDonough in Cradle to Cradle. Cradle to Cradle Certified is based on the work of Braungart and McDonough, and it's the global standard for products that are safe, circular, and responsibly made. Cradle to Cradle for products is similar in intent to B Corp for companies. It's holistic for people and planet. For more than a decade, Cradle to Cradle Certified have helped leading brands, retailers, designers, and manufacturers across the value chain to ensure the impact of their products on people and planet is a positive one. So the Cradle to Cradle philosophy comprises 3 parts. The first is to improve the way we make, use, and reuse things. The second is to eliminate waste. That's a bad word. We don't want to use that one. And the third is to build a circular economy. Now, Dr. Michael Braungart said that we should move from doing less harm to doing more good. Being less bad is simply not good enough. And likewise, Cradle to Cradle is not a one-off certification for a product, but a commitment to continuous innovation to move towards doing good. It helps companies to innovate and optimize materials and products according to the world's most advanced science-based measures. Cradle to Cradle Certified assesses the safety, circularity, and responsibility of materials and products across 5 categories of sustainability performance. Material health requires that chemicals and materials used in the product must protect human health and be safe for the environment. Product circularity means that products must be intentionally designed for their next use. Clean air and climate protection seeks that product manufacturers must have a positive impact on air quality, promote renewable energy, and reduce harmful emissions. Water and soil stewardship requires that water and soil must be treated as precious and shared resources. Catchments and soil ecosystems must be protected. And finally, social fairness means that companies must be committed to upholding human rights and applying fair and equitable business practices. Well, of course, the question, if you're in business, is why get Cradle to Cradle certified? Firstly, we know that sustainability is now in the forefront of boardroom discussions, and that's extending beyond climate change and carbon to much more. Cradle to Cradle certification provides a holistic, balanced, and forward-thinking approach. It assists with identifying sustainability risks in your supply chain. It has a rigorous process, and I'm sure we're going to hear about that from Eagle Lighting, and that gives confidence in the certification. It has an independent audit, even including a site audit, and so it avoids greenwash. And we have recognition and support of Cradle to Cradle certification from rating tools like Green Star and Well, with a recent announcement this year from Green Star that they're supporting Cradle to Cradle certification in their rating tool. Eagle Lighting has received bronze Cradle to Cradle certification for their Educo Vitality luminaire. Now, you might see that the overall rating is bronze, and, well, is bronze good? You might think it doesn't sound all that great. But Cradle to Cradle, I think, is a bit like the Olympics for products. You can't be a poor performer at the Olympics and get a medal. Only the great athletes make it. And it's the same for Cradle to Cradle. It's for great products. Achieving a bronze certification in your first go is an amazing achievement. And that's what Eagle Lighting achieved. Any Olympian who gets a bronze has achieved something incredible, and that is similar for Cradle to Cradle. Let's unpack what is under that bronze certification. This is a representation of Eagle Lighting's overall performance in the 5 categories, and you'll see that they received bronze in 3 categories, silver in product circularity because of the design of the product and its circular features, and gold for social fairness. Eagle Lighting's a great company who are acting strongly and responsibly in the community. So when you see a bronze certification, it's actually the minimum that the company has or the product has received in any of those 5 categories. And that's an important representation to remember. Now I'm going to hand over to Ian, who's going to continue and tell us about Eagle Lighting's sustainability journey. So over to you, Ian.
Thank you, Nicole. Just bear with us for a second while we change the screen sharing arrangements. And thank you for the very gracious introduction to both myself and Mark, and also our achievements here at Eagle Lighting with regard to what we've been doing with regard to product development and our, as I say, pathway with regard to responsibility and sustainability that we have, not only as a lighting company, but to the community in general with regard to the product that we deliver into the market. If I can start with our process, which is a journey that we embarked on some 18 months to 2 years ago now with ThinkStep as our external consultants to guide us through this pathway, because we look at this whole process, and when you begin, it is somewhat of a bewildering type of maze that we needed to navigate through. And with ThinkStep's and Nicole's guidance, we were able to achieve the outcomes that we've now currently have. So our starting point is the UN SDGs as a platform, and we've developed our sustainability approach that is embedded into the entire organisation, and we stand behind that, and we're very proud of the achievements that we've been able to gain to date. It's a journey. We're at the beginning. We've still got a long way to go with regard to where we want to, I should say, not really sure where we're going to end up, because it's almost an endless journey, because it revolves back into the circularity, and we keep revolving around and continual improvement as we move forward. And of course, what we do in Australia is embedded into the principles of our global Fagahol. So our first step is the UN SDGs, our development goals. Through that process and the extensive consultation that we have in partnership with ThinkStep, is that we were able to achieve, or we chose and identified 5 UN SDGs that provide us with the most relevance to the impact that we have within our organisation. And we use these principles to guide and direct all of the outcomes, directions and development goals that we have. Now, as Nicole indicated before, I think it's a very good analogy to say that achieving a bronze rating is an achievement. And when I discuss this with various different people in the marketplace, you look at the 17 SDGs, and we've selected 5, only 5 out of 17, but these are really the areas that we as a lighting business have control over. We don't have a lot of influence about under the water and things like that. So it's really these these goals that drive our direction. So out of that process, we've selected the SDGs, and then from there, that took us on the pathway to where do we implement the credibility and verification methodology with regard to our business practices, the products that we produce, and how we go to market. So, and this is where we've identified EcoVadis as being the sustainability rating, and Cradle to Cradle with regard to certification of our product. From there, we integrate in with Green Building Council of Australia and New Zealand, and of course we have our ISO accreditation for various different business practices that we entail right throughout the company processes. So if I just, as I say, don't want to repeat the whole content with regard to cradle, but maximising our resource of reuse and repurposing of light fixture at the end of its economic life to develop that into the next stage of the process. So we're very proud to be the first manufacturer in the Southern Hemisphere to achieve this and be at the forefront of circular economy principles. Our first product, Educo Vitality, is the one that we've focused all of our effort on and achieved the accreditation. It has been a journey with regard to material assessment, process evaluation, the audit process, which is extensive and comprehensive and ends up with certification. So this is where I'll hand over to Mark to talk more about that detail, because it was really Mark who was involved in guiding the stewardship all the way through this process.
Okay, thank you, Ian. As both Ian and Nicole have alluded to, it is a rather large process. It is a rather rigorous and, I guess, resource-hungry tackle, let's call it. So to sit down and discuss all the learnings that we learned through the 8 or 9 month process would take a day on its own. So we've tried to break it down into probably 4 or 5 of the key learnings. And the very first learning is just that. It is a massive undertaking. It's more than simply trying to measure the carbon generated by a product or the carbon generated ingrained in a product. The holistic view of cradle to cradle forced us to look both upstream and downstream, assessing everything from the social policies of our suppliers through to how water was being managed through our own facility. This is particularly challenging when your products contain various components, and particularly when electronic components are involved. This is where it gets extremely challenging, with one electronic component, of course, consisting of hundreds of subcomponents. We all know the landscape at the moment around components and semiconductors is a challenging landscape. So working with suppliers to truly understand the nature of each subcomponent in their parts could potentially be a big stumbling block. Just touching on that, it wasn't just myself, of course, that spearheaded this. There was a team of people we had on it. So we're lucky in that we've got a great, team of people here that are invested and dedicated into this. And that leads us into lesson 2, that we identified that our suppliers need to be partners in the journey. Very early in the process, I guess we realised that we would need the support of all our suppliers, which supply components or materials for the Educo product, or the Educo Vitality product. And one of the things which was quickly highlighted was which of our suppliers are simply that, suppliers, and which were actual partners. Our partners shared our views and focuses on the environmental sustainability, and this was critical as they were engaged and became a critical part of our journey. Without their support, this process would have been even more challenging, possibly not achievable. That leads us through to what we call lesson 3, which was really gaining a deeper understanding of our product and a deeper understanding than we've had of any product in the past. Having true partners come on the journey with us, and with the extensive requirements of Cradle to Cradle and the certification, we and our partners were forced to gain a truly deep understanding of what materials are in our components and what the byproducts of these components are. We also have a much better understanding of the social fairness views of our partners. For instance, our social procurement framework allowed us to ensure that the partners we were working with, or that we are working with, also maintain the same strong social practices and views that we do. This has always been core to our procurement processes. However, Cradle to Cradle, I guess, has forced us to formalise this and push this right through our whole procurement chain. Leading into what we call lesson 4, and that's a deeper understanding of our processes here. So just as gaining a deeper understanding of our product was a result of the process, so was gaining a deeper understanding of our own practices. As alluded to earlier, there was a rather extensive audit that is part of the certification, and that's an audit of our entire manufacturing and office facility. That assesses everything from any process which is involved in producing the product, really. From this audit, we learnt a lot about our existing technologies and processes, and we actually learnt that much of what we have implemented into the facility are or is as efficient as we expected and wanted it to be, which was a fantastic outcome. We were forced to assess each process really right down to a granular level, and really understand every little nuance, highlighting for us what we currently do well, but also what areas we've got that we can improve upon. By no means are we suggesting that this is the end of our cradle to cradle journey. This is really just the start. As Ian said, we don't know where this is going to end. It was also, I think Nicole mentioned it, that circularity in the product was a big aid in this. Eagle Lighting has been manufacturing lighting solutions for Australia and New Zealand for over 50 years now. In that time, we've seen huge shifts in trends and focuses, and particularly in technologies. And we have always strived to stay, I guess, ahead of this and ensure we're providing our customers and the marketplace with what is best for both today and for tomorrow. In recent years, one of the biggest shifts that we've seen has been the move to LED as a primary lighting technology. We identified that prior to the LED technology becoming the main technology, our designs would need to have a built-in upgradability, so that when the shift happened, or as the shift was happening, we could quickly and easily revitalise our existing products with the newest technology. We were actually thinking about, I guess, product circularity before circularity became a buzzword. A key, I guess, lesson that we took from this process was that circularity in design needs to be included right at the start of the product development stage. It needs to be a core part of the design process. And I guess we are lucky in this stage that we designed this feature into this product and to most of our products very early on. And we will now be integrating, I guess, the requirements of Cradle to Cradle into the start of any product development process going forward. And we'll be ingraining it into the framework of what we use to develop our new products.
Just very quickly to EcoVadis, the other sustainability rating that we have, which similar to Cradle to Cradle, but it has evaluation themes based around environment, labour, human rights, ethics and sustainable procurement. So they're not separate, they are interlinked and connected right through every layer of our business. And through that, we've been able to achieve a silver rating that puts us in the top 25% of companies that are evaluated globally by EcoVadis. So again, we're very proud to have achieved that outcome and have worked very hard with regard to that process. Again, a very steep learning curve from the early days to where we are now, and this is the first step off the platform to elevate up onto higher levels of the podium, I suppose. So just to wrap up a brief overview of some of the commitments that we've made and continuing advancement. This is our first step into renewable energy. We have 100 kilowatts of solar PV on the roof. As you can see, we've got a lot more roof space to fill up, and our objective is to achieve a 500 kilowatt input into our manufacturing facility. We've also got two 45,000 litre water tanks. Now, one of the key elements of both EcoVadis and Cradle to Cradle is water stewardship and the care of the environment. Now, these aren't new. These water tanks were installed when the factory was first built some 15 years ago. So where we're really coming from is that sustainability is part of our DNA. It's not something that we've just jumped on the bandwagon in the last 6 months to try, hey, keep up with the Joneses or anything else like that. It's been a process that we've integrated this into our manufacturing facility for a long period of time. And in conjunction with ThinkStep and the guidance that they've been able to provide us, that's been able to validate the whole process, which is very, very important through this rigorous process of audit, certification and accreditation through both Cradle to Cradle and EcoVadis. and we continue to invest in all of the various different things. Being a custom-made manufacturer, all of our products are slightly different. And cardboard packaging was one of the biggest problems that we have, having wrong size fixture for the box that we had in stock, and we were keeping a whole lot of things. Now we manufacture box to order. So this is adding further layers of sustainability into our business, because it reduces our waste profile, our stocking, our transport costs. All of these types of small inputs make a big difference to our end outcome.
We've also eliminated polystyrene. So almost completely eliminated polystyrene by having the ability to customise packaging.
Yeah.
So it's a big step.
So that's it from us. I'll hand back to Nicole. Thank you.
Fabulous. Thank you very much to Ian and Mark. We have a few minutes just for a few quick questions here. The first one that we've got is, Cradle to Cradle is not the easiest certification to get, you might say. Why have you chosen Cradle to Cradle when there are arguably, frankly, easier alternatives you could have gone with?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's certainly not the easiest that we could get. I think, as Ian touched on at the start, it was identified once our UN SDGs were identified that we needed, or that we wanted to really validate our beliefs. We didn't want it to be greenwash. We didn't want it to be talk. We wanted to actually have certification to stand by what we believe in as a company and what we have for a long time. So Cradle to Cradle was identified as covering more than just, as we said, the carbon in a product, more than just how a product performs once it's installed or over its lifetime. It was really a holistic view of everything that we do, who we are, who we work with, what we believe in as far as our social responsibilities go. It was seen as, I guess, the one platform to cover it all.
Got a question here from Sahar. Could you give us examples of obstacles you faced regarding engaging your suppliers, like on the materials or ingredients, and how you resolved them?
Yeah, definitely. So there are a few different obstacles. As we said, a lot of having electronics within our products was challenging, simply because that then meant that one component quickly became 100 or 200 components. One supplier quickly became 200, 250 suppliers. So working through or with all of them to understand every component and every byproduct was challenging. We discovered that our suppliers, although they were aware of what products and components are in their products, they weren't always completely aware of, I guess, every byproduct of this. So there was a lot of investigation performed on their behalf. So I guess one of the roadblocks or challenges that we faced was that not every supplier wanted to go onto this journey. Not every supplier wanted to invest their resources in, I guess, ensuring that they had all the right products and components within theirs, and if not, had to change them out. We had some, as we said, very, very good suppliers which became partners, and they came along the journey because they also believe in, I guess, environmental sustainability. But there were suppliers which weren't as encouraged by this. They didn't see the bigger picture or the great value in it that we definitely did. So that was probably the biggest challenge that we faced.
That's a really, really helpful anecdote. We've got Tim's asking, it might be too early to comment. I think, Ian, this one's for you. Any feedback from customers on how they value your bronze rating?
Yes, that is a good question, and it's also a topic of recent conversations I've had with various different stakeholders in the marketplace. And to summarise, we've sort of landed in the position of, if we as a community and us as manufacturers and designers and end users and the entirety of the construction industry, I suppose, if you look at our small little area of what we do, is that if we're going to tackle this problem of global warming, there's not one single answer. There's not one solution. And if we try and tackle the problem as one entity, we're never going to achieve it. But what we can change is small incremental steps, everybody doing their part, and we combine all of these little incremental steps, and gradually it grows and it develops into the pathway to a solution. So I think that's really what it is. We talk about our journey, what we've achieved, what our principles are, and what our vision is of where we want to take this. And that's been meaningful in trying to elaborate and create a pathway journey that everybody as a community has a responsibility to participate in.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we do have to wrap it up. I've just got one question. I'm going to see if you can answer this in one sentence. How would you describe the benefit of Cradle to Cradle certification to your business?
Monumental.
There you go. Not just a sentence, just a word. All right. We will make sure that we get back to those who have asked questions and we haven't been able to answer them live. Thank you again very much to both Ian and Mark for sharing your insights with us today. We do have more upcoming webinars planned for you. Our next one is in 2 weeks. On June the 2nd, Zespri's Sustainable Packaging lead, Lewis Patterson, shares how the world's largest marketer of kiwi fruit measures and uses packaging metrics within the global supply chain. And you'll hear our technical director, Jeff Vickers, discussing the most relevant international trade requirements for packaging and how to tackle them. If you have any specific topics you'd like us to cover in future webinars, please let us know. And we have set up a short questionnaire and would really appreciate your feedback. Thank you for attending our webinar today. If you enjoyed it, you'll find this and many other webinars on our website. We're looking forward to seeing you next time. Have a wonderful day.